On this special episode of Jesan Sorrells Presents, I talked to this guy. Oh, look, he's in the phone. No, wait, he's right here.
Wow!
Okay, that's our intro. So on this special episode of Jesan Sorrells Presents, we are once again at the Startup Summit here at Binghamton University, and talking with my old TA here, but also doing some interesting things. This is Judah. Say hi, Judah.
Hi, Judah.
All right. Judah is amazing. Judah went to Stanford. Judah, did some interesting things with design thinking, did some interesting things in my class. I wanted to have Judah on because Judah's really thinking in an interesting way, not only about entrepreneurship, but Judah's also thinking in an interesting way about his career and his future. And I don't know if you all remember out there, but episode 35, we talked about having your ducks in a row. And I made the point that you don't ever have all of your ducks in a row. Matter of fact, when you go through K through 12, and then you go through college, you may have at the end of college just one duck.
Or half a duck.
Or half a duck. Oh gosh, that's even worse, half a duck, right? And then as you go through your life, as you go through your career, as you begin to think at the end of college what you're about to do, as Judah's going to talk a little bit about that, what you're about to do and who you're about to be, you start then maybe collecting ducks. And I wanted to get Judah on because he's one of the brightest lights that I've got, that I've ever run across in thinking about this deeply and in sort of figuring out, not necessarily what he wants to do for the rest of his life. I don't even know what do I want to do for the rest of my life, right? But in sort of figuring out what he can do next and how that can be really interesting and engaging and inspiring. And so I wanted to get Judah on, I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation with Judah. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to talk. But Judah, why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers of Jesan Sorrells Presents and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Judah. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And
Georgia.
I'm a Georgia peach through and through. Went for a year abroad in the Holy Land of Israel. Then came to Binghamton University. Not quite sure why, but here I am. Decided to go into the ever increasingly popular business field. Started studying and was forced to take a class with this wonderful man.
Against his will.
Against my will.
Against his will.
Ended up kind of being enjoyable. Don't want to give him too much credit. But no, honestly, it opened my eyes into what a university class should be, and here I am. I'm about to go into a job in headhunting in New York City, and I'm really pumped to do that. But yeah, I'm definitely going to talk about more about my experience if you want to ask me some more pointed questions.
Sure. Well, I want to start off with first the pointed question. You're wearing a shirt and a hat here, and many of you may not be able to see the shirt, but we're going to put a link in the video. Oh, well, there you go. That's how you get up close to the shirt. Respect the fin. Fins are for sharks, not for soup. So talk to us about Respect the Fin. Talk to us about this little project. Talk to us about this.
So when I signed up to be in Binghamton, during my gap year in Israel, I had a business selling fried food. Obviously, they always tell you, entrepreneurship is all about going to your passion. It's bullshit. Sometimes you just want to get some money. And I saw that people in my program wanted some food, so I started a fried foods business, which ended up being very successful, made a lot of money. And then, so I had this entrepreneurial streak, and I'm like, I'll just go get it. So then I see this thing called the entrepreneurial community in Binghamton. So I signed up to be in that, and on the floor I meet all these great people, all these great friends, and one of these friends, her name is Shiras Journey, and she started this organization called Respect the Fin. So it started off as like a side project and no one was really taking it seriously. She wasn't taking it seriously, it was just an Instagram account because she loved sharks. And shark finning...
Who doesn't love sharks?
A lot of people. So, shark finning is really bad because there are these top predators which don't replenish that often. It's not like, they're not like minnows, and there's this, it's in Chinese and Japanese markets, they'll often cut off the fin and throw the shark back to die. So she wanted to bring attention to this horrible practice and to get stopped. So she started this organization, ended up being huge. Now she's like 33,000 followers, and it's very, very popular, and she's very successful. So,
by the way, she started from nothing and has 30,000 followers.
In the span of like a year and a half.
Right.
So it's just fascinating that, and she didn't study business, she never thought of herself as like an entrepreneur. She was only there because her best friend started this community and she just wanted to be part of the community. And I think a lot of the people who think that they're entrepreneurs ended up not being successful, and the people who don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs end up being successful. Mm-hmm. Because this whole entrepreneurial community of like, I design thinking and it's great and all, but unfortunately I think a lot of the people there are just kind of normal people who are just getting sucked into any fad, just like literally any other fad. But the true entrepreneurs can really come from anywhere, and if you want to be a part of that community, it's easy to get sucked into the all the what do you call it, the
Maelstrom.
This it's like it's inspiration. It's inspiration. It's
motivational.
Right, exactly.
It's Gary Vee running around.
It's a lot of it is easy to get caught up in.
Yeah.
And but truly, the real entrepreneurs are the people who have the grind, who have the discipline, and have the passion to make something work. And you don't have to be passionate about what you have to do to make it successful. You have to be passionate about seeing something through to the end, and that's more important than being passionate about the subject itself, at least in my experience, because I've tried to do certain things, and if I haven't had the passion to follow through, it just goes.
Right. Tell me about, and we've had a conversation about this sort of offline, but I want to bring it online. Tell me about starting. Like we've talked about that like a little bit around during our class time, right? When you were a TA of mine, and now you're working with Respect to Finn, and you started your own little project there when you were studying abroad, selling the food and all that. Starting. Why is starting so hard?
I think that just like think about I'm sure this has happened to everyone. You have a big school assignment or a big thing, a big project at work, and you just don't know where to start. But as soon as you do start, usually kind of caused by that last minute panic of procrastination.
Absolutely.
You end up just kind of drilling it really far, really fast. Mm-hmm. Because you had that drive. Now imagine if you took that drive that you did in the last, 10% of the time you had allotted and did that whole thing throughout the 100% of the time allotted. If you just kind of pushed yourself earlier, you could have covered so much more ground. So just like a car engine, like when a car engine, the most energy is needed to start it.
Right.
Once you're already started,
you can just go.
Then you keep going. Right. Of course, you still need to keep applying energy.
Yep.
But the hardest thing is starting, and I think that it has to do. Going to the gym. The hardest thing is just walking to the gym. Once you're there, you always do the full workout. Yeah. It's literally with everything in life, the hardest thing is starting. And I think that as a species, I don't know why we're geared toward this, but we hate starting things. But once you start them, you find it much easier. And starting isn't literally just taking the first step, it's also doing the first several steps to actually make it meaning. It's not just going to the gym once, it would have to be starting for several months, and then you would get into the routine.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, like it's interesting. Like starting goes from being, start turning the car on and starting the engine. It goes from that to being more about what are the things that we're going to put in to continue. What's the fuel we're going to put in the engine to keep that thing going?
The direction of the car.
Direction of the car, right? You've done some work in mentorship, right? In that space, a little bit, coaching.
Somewhat here and there, yeah.
Here and there, yeah. What do you think? Yeah, how do you?
So a lot of people get caught up in the details.
Yeah.
I would say that they, oh my gosh, it's great. So many startups, you'll have these 3 people come with an idea, and then not even like a day in, they're talking about like how they're going to divide up, like the shares of the company.
Right.
And they haven't done anything yet, other than maybe have a name. but everyone loves doing, when we go IPO, I get 20%.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it's just so funny. People love to get caught up in the future. It's just why some people like when they go to I keep them going back to the gym because it's hard to follow through with something like that. They're very focused on, like that's why the people, they post all these selfies like, motivation, day 9, eating right. But why don't you see, what about
the hustle?
What about day 456 eating right? Are you still going to be as excited? Like, no. and so I would say one of the first things is don't worry about later. Why don't you worry about what are the first 3 steps you need to take and actually deliver on them?
Now, does Shira have any, and I would love to get her on and talk with her, maybe we can arrange that for a future video, but like, does Shira have any partners or did she just start by herself?
She was heavily coached by we had a mentor in our community, his name is Adam. I think he is filmed in another episode. And he helped her a lot, but most of it was her, and it was just her stumbling along, trying to figure out Instagram and trying to figure out how to gain followers, and she made a lot of mistakes and self-correct, see what worked, see what didn't, took notes about, how, like, kind of, she was just guessing the path. She did take some pointers from seeing how other people made their Instagrams big, because that's her main medium.
Right.
But then as we go along, like right now, she's talking with someone about possibly expanding to like Amazon or something like that, and constantly, I don't know if she will or not, but she's constantly on the lookout for new mediums, and she's not satisfied even with the current success she has, and she's always looking for new ways to break it, to keep breaking expectations, to keep tackling different hurdles.
Well, and that's why I asked about sort of partners, because the person who's on your team when it's like hot and cool now on you said day 499, right? That person might not be with you on day 499, right? And then you're right, like you're worried about the wrong things up front. So you're worried about equity, and then you're giving that person equity because you're just so grateful that they're with you. But then like at day 499, they're not with you, and then you've got to work 7 years to build up enough
to have the people want to be back with you,
right? To get back with you,
right?
And you're right, like you're putting the cart before the horse a little bit there.
So yeah, so right, she doesn't have any partners, but there are a number of other startups where, like Enhanced VR, which are here with its partners, and I don't know the exact dynamics of the relationships in there, but oftentimes having a good partner is key. And the biggest thing in identifying a partner is not someone who's like you and good at the same stuff you are. It's someone who's good at the stuff you're not, and you're good at the stuff that they're not.
Yes.
You have to be complementary, because if you're not complementary, then you're just going to end up competing, or you're going to end up. It usually doesn't work out. But I've seen the successful relationships of the people who they're two different people. It's the techie quiet guy or the techie loud guy, and then the business the guy who's just oozes personality and can talk to clients and do the business side. I mean, just look at Silicon Valley.
Sure.
That show has plenty of examples of that.
So it's on water to the well, it's on fire now.
Sure.
Well, being able to do that, right? And being able to partner with somebody who's, like you said, complementary to you and your strengths. Okay, so I want to break down a couple of things that you said in there. So the partnership piece, the starting piece, but also you mentioned the mentoring piece, which people I think underestimate the power of mentoring. I think we use mentoring when we really mean coaching, and Maggie Chan, who was just with us earlier today, talked a lot about coaching female leaders and coaching for diversity and things like that, and I think those are all things very important in getting women into the C-suite and women of color into the C-suite. That's all very interesting, but at the same time, when you're talking about mentoring is a long-term relationship, I think fundamentally, and coaching is more about, like she was talking about sponsorship. I love how she made that sort of delineation there in her thought process, right? So sponsorship is, I'm going to open this door for you. Coaching is, I'm going to show you how to get to the door. And then mentoring is, I'm going to show you how to get to the next door, right? With all that being said and all that in the breakdown, Judah, you're graduating, you're going to go off and be a headhunter, but what's your side hustle going to be? What's the thing you're going to do? Because your brain never stops. This is what I know for you. Your brain never stops working. So don't give too much. Don't give away all 20 of your ideas. Just like idea number 19. And
honestly,
was that 19? Was that number 19 side hustle?
So I think oftentimes people think of side hustle as like a business or a new idea, but while I do have a number of ideas and stuff which are churning around here, they've never stopped. It sounds crazy, but. Actually, though, what I'm most looking forward to is I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, which is it's a big city in the U.S., but it's not New York City, which is I think one of the capitals of the world. Mm-hmm. And my side hustle in New York City is going to be to experience as much as possible while there. I want to never spend a single night just like staying in watching Netflix. Meaning I'm gonna be at my job all day, but I want to go to weird book clubs at night and just meet crazy people. Because in New York, I've only spent this entire semester, I've just been going there almost every single weekend. And one of the main people who stuck out to me is I was walking along in this, there's this park along the river in Washington Heights, near the bridge. And we saw all these, my friend said, you have to see these cool stones. And they were hundreds and hundreds of these little formations of, it was a big stone, then a medium stone, and a small stone, all balanced perfectly. It almost looked like they could fall over, but they were balanced very, very carefully. And we're looking at it and we start trying to build our own. We don't really know who did it. We see there's some signs that say it's the Ulysses stone. They're called the Sisyphus stones.
Sisyphus stones, yeah, okay.
They're called the Sisyphus stones. And we go all the way to the end where the last stones are, the last formations, and we start trying to build our own. And this guy comes over and starts talking to us. It turns out it's the guy, it's the sculptor. It's not sculptor, it's the artist. It's the guy who completely makes
built the system, yeah.
His name is Ulysses, cool guy. You can look him up, and there's a piece about him in the New York Times. And we're talking to him, and turns out we thought that they'd been up for like a year and a half, but all the time, he says, it's now 12 times he's rebuilt them because someone comes over and just pushes them, just all over, just cause they can.
It's a Sisyphean task.
And exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's his own thing, and it's just, and he has seen people bring the ashes of their dead relatives there. He's seen people like break down crying there. He sees people meditating there, holding yoga classes, just enjoying it. Then I was only there for about an hour and a half, and I saw hundreds of people take photos of this, and I was just thinking, this guy does nothing more than balance some stones, just a whole bunch of them, and it brings this meaning to so many people's lives. in a way that he never really dreamt of when he just built them. And that's an entrepreneur. He is bringing value to people's lives, and that value could be in money or it could be in raw feeling. And that is what makes places like New York City so interesting to me, because with 18 million people, or even it's many millions of people in the span of a very small area, you have a chance to meet some really, really cool people. There's a lot of bags. But that's okay. That's the world. But you're gonna meet so many cool people, and these are the kind of people I meet, and that's what makes living in the city so fascinating. And I walked away from that meeting with just a whole new sense of what it meant to be a self-starter, how it meant to affect people's lives. And it's not just measured in the raw money, because there are people in their penthouses on Park Avenue who will never make as much of a difference as this guy who just sets up stones. And that just blew my mind away. And that is going to be my side hustle. Meet as many people as I can who can inspire me in different ways and form myself to be a better person in the future. Because as much as it's nice to be this like creative and design thinking, like that's all great, but at the end of the day, it's who you are and how you affect people. And if you can't work on yourself in a very deliberate fashion and and try to get yourself out there to meet the kind of people who can affect you in that sort of way, then I don't think you can really make the change that you want.
Awesome. And that's our last word on our special episode of Jesan Sorrells Presents with Judah Berger. Please follow him everywhere you can find him. Please follow and check out Respect Within and all those other areas that Shira is involved in. And please follow her on Instagram and check out her business. And if you're in New York City and you're one of that 8 million who's not on the other side, look up Judah and let's all start having some life-changing experiences together. Thanks, Judah.
Thank you.